Well, Nataly, thanks for doing the pod, getting the audio right like a real champ.
You got it. We're good. Okay. Wanted to make sure we're still good. We're still good.
How's is it Bushwick you live in? Bushwick life?
Yeah, it isn't. No, actually I moved.
Oh, nice.
From the last time you saw me. Yeah. I'm in Williamsburg, which is
big upgrade.
The room is smaller, the space is smaller, but it's a much better area considering that New York is open.
Yeah, you're closer to more stuff and you can get out.
Yeah, I'm like super close to the city. I'm a 5-minute train ride to the city. And there's like so much shit around, but it's just like everything's closed now. So there's no true advantage to it.
Right.
I guess once we're back up and running, it'll be good.
Yeah. Or since you're moving to LA anyway, so.
Yeah, right. That's the plan. I feel like every New Yorker at some point is like, I'm moving to LA, but then it takes a while until we actually move to LA. But I'm at the first step where I'm like, I'm starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
I feel like once you start talking about it, the next thing you talk about it some more, and then you buy a ticket, but then you cancel the ticket, but but it's one of the steps, and then you say yes, and then you say no, and then eventually you just go.
Yeah, you just make the jump. That's what happened to me. You just started thinking about it. And then I'm in LA, and I always think I'm going to move back to New York. That's the thing. You start.
Were you here?
Yeah, I was there for 4 years.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Doing comedy?
No, I was in music.
That's true. You were
doing all the audio stuff. That's why.
Yeah. We were talking. I remember we were talking about that time we went to have lunch.
Yeah, with Dave Merhej.
Yeah.
That was such a cool little diner. It was like the last of like the Stone Age family, like people with no vegan options, just like a real restaurant.
Yeah, that was actually, I think that was one of my last, not that, but one of my last meals with Dave, our friend, was at that restaurant. I think we had lunch there, me, him, and his roommate, like 3 days before everything shut down.
You should see how happy he is. He's glowing out here in LA.
I can tell he's glowing and he's so happy in LA, and I'm kind of offended. I'm like, what was so wrong with us here? I feel like because also in New York, he was just locked in for 2 months.
Yeah.
And since he knew his apartment now and his neighborhood, he associated it to being locked in.
Yeah.
That even once people started coming back out to him, he just needed a complete change of scenery to accept the change. And it feels like now that he moved to LA, he's in a new place. It's like he feels like he moved past the quarantine. So now he's allowed to be happy and relaxed again.
Totally. And when you come here, it's not, if that's your transition, like going from like a locked in Bushwick to here where it's open, like it's a big change. You can have a car, you're driving around, you can walk around. I went over and saw him and Paul at their place, and it was weird to like, I hadn't seen anyone and gone to their place yet. So I like walked in with a mask because I'm like, I don't know. Are they like, I don't know how sensitive they are. I want to be respectful.
Yeah.
And
how was it?
But
you guys were chill. I saw you on FaceTime.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to talk and just be with friends again. Like it was it was. Yeah.
Do you live alone?
No, I have a wife and 2 kids.
That's true. I freaking forgot that. How did I forget that? That's true. Yeah. So that's the thing. I have conversations with people. I learn about them. And then 5 minutes later, I forget all of it.
But that was like 6 months ago.
To be fair.
Yeah.
That was 6 months ago. And I saw you once and we didn't have a conversation about you again. But now that you said it, I'm like, fuck yes, I remember that part.
Yeah. So it was 6 months ago and had a good time. We went out to that weird diner in Brooklyn where we saw the people fight, like the staff fight.
Was the staff fighting? I can't remember.
Yeah, remember like the cook got into it with like another guy outside and they all like ran out from the kitchen and like fought the guy.
Oh yeah.
And then ran back in the restaurant and kept cooking.
What a New York moment.
It was, yeah. And it was a table full of like a lot of non-Americans. Like Dave and I are Canadian. You're from Lebanon.
Yeah, Dave is Lebanese. He needs to stop saying he's Canadian.
Why? He is Canadian.
Because but his blood.
Well, what are you going to lead with?
You need to lead with blood.
I guess if he was American and you asked him what he was, he probably wouldn't say American. Canadian's a weird thing because especially when you're in America, you're like, you really identify as being Canadian.
Yeah, it's true. They do. They need to say it because you can't tell otherwise because the accent is basically the same and everything. So you need to be saying it in order to stand out and be like, yo, I'm Canadian. I got nothing to do with whatever the fuck's going on here.
I think Canadians messed up by not having like a dope, different accent. Like look at the Brits, like if we had like a cool, like talk down to you kind of accent. Like we could sell banking ads. We could do everything, you know?
Yeah. Are you Canadian,
Yeah.
Latif? Where? Toronto?
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Yeah. So different coast.
And did I pronounce your name in English right? Latif or Latif? How do you say it in English?
Latif.
Latif.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do your parents pronounce it?
Latif.
Oh, Latif. Okay.
Yeah. How would you say it in Lebanon?
Latif.
Latif?
That's how I would read it. Yeah.
That's interesting because I have other Lebanese friends and that's the way they do it too.
Really?
But no one else does it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like if I don't know anyone personally called Latif, but that's how I would read it. Where are your parents where are you guys originally from? Remind me.
My dad's Moroccan.
Moroccan.
My mom is English.
Oh, hell yeah. And have you ever been to Morocco?
I was really young, like 3 or 4, but I'd love to go back.
Don't you want to go back?
I want to go back, yeah. I feel like I always missed it. Like I was there, close to there, like working in Europe, and I just never managed to get down there. And then now there's a quarantine. There's always something.
There's always something. Now that you wanted to go now.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, that was it. That was the time I was actually going to go, but there's a pandemic, so I can't.
Yeah. And then did
it get hit? Do you know if it got hit hard or no?
I think it did. They locked down some stuff. I don't know. It's much harder with different countries and different media outlets. You don't really know.
Yeah, I guess if you're not really connected to a specific country, you can't really know what's going on that part.
But my parents were there right before it all happened, and they got out just in time. So.
Oh shit! Yeah, they could have been stuck.
Yeah, totally stuck in there, and stuck anywhere sucks. Even if I was like in a different part of America or Canada and stuck, like no.
Yeah,
it's hard. So I Googled like little stuff about you, and trying to find some of your clips. Where are your stand-up clips?
I hide them.
Where do you hide? A secret post?
Yeah, I haven't released my stand-up stuff because I'm like every time I have a tape that I think is good, every time I hate watching myself so much that I can't be objective at all. And every time I look at myself, I'm like, this is terrible. I don't want anybody to ever see that. So I just don't post anything.
I like what the one you had on your Twitter I just found, which was like, you just getting into arguments with different people in the crowd.
That's pretty much how it goes for me every time anyway.
That's a great way to do it because it's like, hey, I can do this, but I'm not burning any material, but it's also kind of fun and funny.
Yeah. That's the point.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good choice.
Thank you. I like that you understood exactly what I was doing. I'm like, hey, I can do this, but I'm not putting any of my material. If you guys look at that and think it sucks, I'm saying it sucks too either way. So
yeah. It's like one extra meta joke on top of the joke.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I mean, I've thought about posting material, but every time I'm about to, I'm like, I just want to leave it for something worth it. I want to post it when it's something worth it. I don't want to burn any of my stuff yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like waiting. And I also just hate myself. So
it's a balance.
Like not posting anything.
Yeah. That's the age old question we're all in. Like I have something, do I put it up? Do I wait? Do I not? And for a while it's been like, put it up. But now it feels kind of saturated. I don't know. You never really know what's the right move.
And it's kind of hard for us too, because as a comic, you follow a lot of comic and you're followed by a lot of comics. Yeah. So everything comics do, we see it a lot. So it's magnified through our lens, you know? So if you ask a comic, the comic will be like, yeah, everybody's posting stuff online. I don't want to post stuff online too, because then everybody will be annoyed. But then if you ask a regular person, an average doesn't really follow a lot of comics. So what you're seeing, they're not seeing the same thing. So you dropping something, is going to go to a couple of comics, but it's going to go in front of a lot more non-comics.
Yeah.
Which is something I try to keep in mind when I'm about to post stuff.
Yeah, it's not for them, it's for the audience. And it's all about building your audience.
Exactly. So, but that being said, I've gotten very close to posting my material before, but then every time I'm about to have to do it, I'm like, I can't.
Like you captioned it, it's ready to go?
Yeah. I have some that are captioned, that are titled, they have the thumbnail, like they're ready to go. But I'm just like, not yet. I'm like, not now.
Yeah.
I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. That's the one thing, because when I first started comedy, I was in such a hurry. I was like, okay, I started, let's go, let's do this. And then the longer I was doing it, the more time passed, the more I was like, I'm actually not in a hurry at all, because I see my evolution. Like if I look at my stuff, so let's say 2 years in, I was ready to post something and I thought was good. Literally 5, 6 months later, I would rewatch that tape and I'd be like, that was so bad. Thank God I didn't post it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm still in a stage where I can see my change and I can see my mistakes later on. So I'm like, I'm waiting to get to the point where over a long period of time, I rewatch things over and over again, and I'm still like, yep, this is good. Once I've felt that way multiple times over one specific clip, then I'll be like, okay, this has aged well with who I am right now. So I think my evolution has gone to a point. I mean, I'm always going to, learn more and hopefully get better with time. But once I get to the point where after a specific amount of time, I still feel like something represents me well, then I feel like I would have reached a level of evolution I'm comfortable sharing with the world, with the whole world, because everybody in the world is waiting for my stand-up.
Obviously, everyone's waiting. But that's actually like Jamie Flam. He used to be the improv booker here in LA. He had great advice. It's like, when you're ready for something, just wait an extra 9 months. When you think, because especially when you're starting out, you're like, you don't know. And a lot of, it's hard to undo a bad first impression. I'm sure what you have is amazing. And you're probably it's hard to do that first one.
I hope so. I'm waiting to be a little bit more convinced. And then now I haven't been on stage for 3 months. So like now it's even more so.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. This is such a long break to take. And even the last couple of days, I started being like, all right, I'm going to write bits for at least an hour. Even if I feel weird, I'm going to rehearse them by myself in a room, just because I started to feel like I need to do it. Like I need to, I ended up writing some like other stuff that's not stand-up. So that felt good. But it's just, it's something you got to do every day. Otherwise it goes away. And I feel like once it ramps back up, I'd love to have a bunch of new stuff to at least try and get through. Or even if it's all terrible, at least like I'm doing it every day.
Yeah. I'm just like, I was so excited to get back into it. But now that I feel like it's closer, that we're going to get on stage soon, I'm a little terrified, because I'm like, I don't even know if I still know how to do this. Like the thought of being on stage right now, I would love it, but I'm also terrified of it.
Yeah. And like, what are you going to do? Material? Like, it's like, you got to kind of address Corona, I guess. But the 5 people before you all have too. And it's, I just want to see stand up. I want to see how it's going. I want to see like, okay, all right, I don't even need to do it. I just want to see it for like a night.
I mean, I saw a show a couple days ago. Michael Che did a show at in like a parking lot in Queens. And it was pretty good. I mean, it's not the same. The vibe is very different from like if you were sitting at a comedy club or in like a theater. But it was good vibes. It was cool. And you're like, oh, this is still the same thing. We are all still the same people. And it's actually not as big a deal as, I think we're making it in our heads. So I think it'll be a faster ramp. It'll be a faster ramp up than we realize.
Is that the one where people are in cars?
No, people were not in cars. People were sitting. It was like, people were sitting. It looked like it was like a huge picnic where everybody was sitting down. And then he was standing on a car and like on a truck. Mm-hmm. And other comics who were on the show. And then people were out and like in front of you. It's just open air space, which is, not the best setting for comedy, but it still worked.
It works. And over the last few years, like there's been more and more outdoor shows, and there's a way to do it that works. I mean, I think Chappelle's was amazingly done for outside.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting about Chappelle's? He's also doing it at night. And it's dark and there's a spotlight on the stage. So it feels a little bit cozier. Yeah. Whereas when Che did it, it was outdoor during the day. So I feel like when the audience feels seen, they're less comfortable than when they're in the dark. It's a question of like the audience. Yeah. I feel like when people are more comfortable, their vibes are better and they're more comfortable laughing.
And it was like an event and you're like going and sitting. It's like kind of like a date night. It felt like people were really... It was still great.
But he's doing it every day, I think, now.
Really?
Yeah, he has comics down there. I saw it on Instagram. He has comics down there. And it's like a regular lineup.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he's doing it nightly, I think.
Yeah.
I think. That's what it looks like anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he single-handedly kind of like brought it back. I mean, it was coming back anyway, but it added this momentum to it for me at least, where I was like, okay, it's back, it's coming. It started making me think about, all right, when am I going to do a show? Should I start like looking out of town? I don't know. The whole thing is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Do you remember your last show before this all happened?
I think it might have been this bar show at the Oyster Bar in Studio City. I don't know for sure.
It didn't really affect you if you don't remember it. You were like, whatever.
It didn't at the time. It didn't feel like I didn't leave being like,
Yeah.
all right, this is the last show for a while.
Yeah.
Whatever show I
Yeah.
did, then it was like the next day they're like, you can't go out. I remember
Yeah.
the last couple shows being weird. People were like, don't touch me, or like the comics are like, don't shake my hand,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And but I don't remember. And then all of a sudden, people were like, all right, don't go out. And it felt like, okay, we'll be in for the weekend, and then we'll be back. And then it just, one
Yeah.
more week, 2 more weeks, don't touch your face, this masks.
Yeah.
And now we're in the
I
crazy.
fucking knew. As soon as it started happening, I was like, this is going to be a couple months.
Yeah. It felt like they were giving us the frog in the pot syndrome. Like they're just turning it up slowly.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's going to be just a couple weeks. I was like, fuck no. What do you mean a couple weeks? Yeah. But it's like, it's nice that right now it just feels like people are less scared. I feel like because it was such an unknown thing at first. And I feel like that's why everybody was so panicked. But now it feels like we know what it is.
Yeah.
So, people are not as scared. When I'm out and I talk to people, I just don't feel as scared anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been going for hikes and walking around, and I feel like, okay, there's the risk. If you see someone coughing, like get out of there.
Yeah.
Like don't, wear the gloves, wear the mask, and what else are you going to do, really?
Yeah. But it's, but here's the thing, it's going to be here.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Are you going to stay locked inside for forever? No, you just, you have to learn to live with it.
I feel like the society's, like the social fabric is completely changed now. I think there's certain things that'll never go back to the same. Like
what?
Behavior, shopping, what kind of risks. Like, I think everything is just evaluated in a new paradigm until there's like a universal vaccine, like where it's just totally gone. But I think people have permanently changed their habits for certain things, like restaurants and
for sure. I think there's
where they live, going to the office, all that's done.
Yeah, but I feel like this eventually will go away. I mean, I don't think it's a permanent change. People are like, everyone's like, people are not going to shake hands anymore. People are not. I'm like, no, they are. They are. It's just going to, I mean, maybe not right now, but it's not going to be a permanent change until forever. Because humans forget so quickly. We forget emotions and feelings so fast. When you're living them, you feel like this is it. I can't imagine not feeling this thing. It's kind of like when you're in love. When you're in love, you're like, oh, I love this person so much. I can't imagine not loving them. I love them. And then you break up, and then eventually you stop loving them. And then you don't remember ever loving them. You're like, did I ever love them? What was that? You can't even remember the feeling that you had towards this person.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Whereas at a point where you were in love with them, you couldn't imagine not feeling what you were feeling. And I think it's the same thing. It's kind of like when you go through a war, you're so scared, you don't want to go outside, and you're like, how am I ever going to feel safe going outside again? But then the war ends. You go outside the first time, you're still a little, second time, a little bit less, third time. And then the 10th time, you're just like back. You're like, okay, I'm out. I've been out again. You forget.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we keep repeating like bad history mistakes and wars over and over, this and that. It's like,
probably
we forget things.
Yeah.
We talked about Canada and Morocco. I didn't mention the most famous Moroccan comedian, Gad Elmaleh.
Yeah.
You opened for him? Yeah,
I did.
That's pretty great.
It was almost 2 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's a legend in Morocco and Canada.
He is. He's a legend in Morocco. He's a legend in France.
Yeah,
he's
France.
Also kind of a legend. He's a legend in every French-speaking country, I think. Yeah. He's the first comedian I ever knew.
Oh, really?
I ever watched. Yeah, because in Lebanon we speak French.
Do you speak French?
Yeah.
Oh, I do too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, great. We'll speak French next time.
Yeah.
Maybe not on this. Just switch to French.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, we were obsessed with him when we were kids. Like, I remember, like, he had his one-man shows, and he had a lot of songs. He would do a lot of musical stuff in his shows, and his songs were super famous. Like, I remember we would listen to them and sing them in the school bus in Lebanon. And he was supposed to come to Lebanon in 2005, I think, or 2006. And we were all so excited. He sold out like all his shows. Like he had like two shows, and I think he added another two, and they sold out within like a couple of days, which is like not a thing in Lebanon. Like it's very rare for something to sell out quickly.
Oh, wow.
Because like, especially in Lebanon, we didn't have online ticketing for a while. I still don't know if we do. We used to go to Virgin Megastore. They used to sell tickets in person. We would go and buy the tickets.
Like line up, and you have this little thing.
Yeah. We would line up.
That's cute.
Yeah. I don't know how they do it now when there's I've never been in person to buy. I mean, I've never not done it in person. I mean, so I don't know, but I haven't been in a concert in Lebanon in a while.
You grew up in Lebanon?
Yeah, born and raised.
Went to the American University of Beirut?
Mm-hmm.
That's such a crazy name for a university. Like, I can't imagine going to like the China University of America, like in America. Like, it's such a, like, because it's like a different country right up front of the name.
I guess now that you say it, I mean, people have told me that. I never thought it sounded weird until people here were like, you have a university in Lebanon called American University? Why American? I was like, you know what? I don't know. It just is.
Was it like
American.
a symbol of quality? Is that why?
I have no clue. Maybe, yeah. Maybe it is.
Is it by Americans? Like,
I don't know who Americans are involved in it for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know to what extent though. I don't know if they built it and invested in it, or it was just a partnership, or just a name. I have no clue. But there's a bunch of them. Like in Egypt, there's also the American University of Cairo.
Okay, yeah. So maybe it's like it's a franchise. What America does best.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. Although we're not affiliated to them.
They're not intra-affiliated?
Not that I know. Not that I know of. Maybe I'm talking shit. Maybe they are. Maybe they're the same.
Yeah.
No clue. I don't know. I went to class and then I went back home.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Yeah. I have no clue.
You study stand-up?
I should have made them create that major.
Yeah.
No, I studied media comm. Okay.
So it's probably the closest you could get to stand-up without doing stand-up.
Yeah, I guess it was the only major that I thought, maybe I wasn't interested in any major. I just didn't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then the year I joined was the year they started that major. It was a brand new major. They had never done it before. Besides that, they only had like engineering, architecture, business, doctors, like the basic stuff. And that was a new one.
The acceptable Middle Eastern diplomas.
Nursing, nutrition, yeah. But then this one came along, and it was the cool, hip, new one. Like, ooh, look at us! We're becoming like artistic American. Wow, it's very artsy. So they were accepting everyone into the major because it was new.
Yeah,
and they wanted to have, and we were mostly girls. Every class was like 20 girls and like maybe 3 dudes.
Yeah.
But it was such a small department that it was like we were all in the same classes. So it was really nice because like the American University of Beirut is huge. And you're very rarely with the same people in the same classes. So that one was kind of like the little community within the university. And the professors were fucking awesome. Most of them. I had beef with a couple, but most of them were great.
Mm-hmm.
And it was considering it was a good experience, because besides that, I just didn't really enjoy my time there. But
good teachers would make the class. Like, you can take the same subject with 2 different teachers, and one is like an amazing experience, and one is just a guy reading from a textbook. It's so important.
And they were but when you're in a media comm major, usually your teachers are very educated and charismatic speakers, and that kind of, because they're journalists, they're philanthropists, they're, so they were just like very strong Arab minds who had very interesting views on things. It was very it was media comm, it was media studies and communication, but it was mostly like a political, like an Arab, like we were talking a lot about Arab media, how Arab media is, what's the difference between how we represent ourselves versus how the West represents us, how we represent our women versus how we represent our men. So it was very Arab oriented.
So it was a lot of philosophy and politics and political economy.
It was political. Yeah, it was like political media. Yeah, we would talk a lot about. It's not just like,
here's a camera, this takes a mini DV.
Yeah. I know. I a lot of the classes I just thought were really cool, and then there was a lot of classes that fucking sucked, like computer science, which I was like, I don't care.
Yeah. Like coding.
Yeah. I had to take a coding class, which
It's
sucked.
it's good to know that like, all right, this is the foundation of every object we use is
Yeah,
this
but when
little
you take
code.
one class, you're never going to remember what you took. Like I
Oh
took
no,
one
it's gone.
class,
Yeah.
I barely passed it. I just passed it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I handed in my final, I was like, I can't remember anything I learned
Yeah.
here.
It's a language. You have to use it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even remember what softwares we we worked on.
Yeah. Then you came to New York and said, I'm done. Let's do this. Let's do stand up.
As soon as I graduated. I didn't even go to my graduation.
Really?
Like 2 weeks later. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 weeks later, I was like planning it. Like my first year in, I was like, okay, what do I need to graduate? Here are the courses I need to take. This is the time I have. I was super organized. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this course now, that course later, everything. And like, I remember my last semester, I went to the office of admissions. I was like, hey, I need you to check my file right now and make sure that everything I did it right. And I'm graduating at the end of the semester.
Yeah.
And so they pulled the reports. They were like, okay, you're good. I was like, perfect. I need to make sure to pass everything. I bought my ticket to New York like 4 months before. And I was like, let's go. It was like, I wasn't seeing anything in front of me. I didn't care about anything. All I saw was New York. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Nobody talked to me. No boys try to hit on me. Nobody try to mess with my fucking head right now. I need to get to New York. And I was just like, super focused. Yeah. And then I graduated, spent Christmas with my family, and then flew straight to America.
Wow. And had you been to New York?
I had been, yeah. So we came in 2006. There was a war in Lebanon in 2006. So we fled Lebanon like a week before the war ended, which is funny because like we were there the whole time, and then we were like, okay, we don't know when this is going to end. We left, and then a week later the war was over.
Was that when Anthony Bourdain got caught there? Was that?
I think so. Yeah, it was July of 2006, July 12th, 2006. So I remember that. I remember the moment so well when it happened. Like the first day, it was just, ugh. Yeah, so we were hiding in the mountains for a while at my grandparents' house in the mountains. And then we took a bus to Syria. And then when we got to Syria, we took a plane to Turkey. And then we took a plane from Turkey to New York because my uncles were here. So it was me, my parents, my brothers, and my grandparents. And so we stayed here the summer. And then at the end of the summer, my mom was like, let's stay. Let's try it. My dad and my oldest brother went back to Lebanon so that my brother could graduate high school. And then me and my other brother and my mom stayed here for a year. And then my mom did her LLM. Like she went to law school to get her American degree because she's a lawyer. And then afterwards, me and my mom went back and I went back to Lebanon. And then I came back for one summer once just to, see my friends from school that I had met the year I was here.
At least you have family in New York and stuff to like talk to.
Yeah, I have 2 uncles.
Oh, that's great. And so you're not there even right now alone, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, they're out of the city right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty close. And we're very, very close. We're a very tight-knit family. So I'm never completely alone.
Oh, that's nice. And there's a crazy like inflation. I saw this article about Lebanon. Like people are buying, if they can afford it, like very expensive cars and stuff because they feel like that will hold its value more than money in the bank.
In what sense?
Like if you have a bunch of, is it lira or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a bunch of lira, you buy like a car and then as the lira devalues, you can sell the car is worth more than the money is in the bank. I don't know if this is true.
I mean, there's definitely an idea there, but I just didn't know that cars were one of the products people were buying.
Cars, luxury handbags, like anything that they can resell.
Because usually cars is one of the rare stuff you buy that loses value over time. It's not like land.
Yeah.
But now I would say now is the perfect time to buy land in Lebanon if you can afford it because the value is dropping so fucking hard. So if you buy it, you'll buy it for nothing. It's the worst time to sell. But like if you're buying right now because it's so low, then when, things start getting better, maybe in 10 years, if we're lucky, because things are so bad right now, I don't see how they're going to get better anytime soon. Then they'll be worth a lot more. Yeah.
Well, you got out and you're here. You're living the American dream. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember the determination I had to get out of Canada, and that's like next door. So yeah. It's still a huge process. Like, I had to get a visa and this and prove I could do it and not be on the government support. And you sign all these forms and it takes forever.
Yeah, I heard a lot of Canadians tell me that these stories about how hard it was. I mean, I guess it was what was cool for me is that I have the American passport
Oh,
because my dad has it, so we were all born with it.
oh, that's a big hurdle. No wonder you're ready to go. You're like, New York, I got
Yeah,
this.
that's why it
Yeah.
was so easy. And my dad always jokes around
Oh,
like about it. He's always like, if there's one good thing I did to you kids, give you the American passport.
yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal for sure.
Because
And
otherwise you got to
so,
enter the lottery or like prove
yeah,
all this stuff that you're
yeah,
super
yeah. So
amazing.
that's why I have so much respect for people who had to go through that because I have the American passport and like still making my way here was tough. I can't even imagine how I would have handled it with that extra layer, which is a huge fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's not nothing. It's really tough.
Yeah. Now that I've been here for a while, like I think about like, oh, I'll just move to New York. But when I was in Canada wanting to move to New York, it's like that extra layer of like, and I'm also leaving everything
Yeah.
I know. Like I have to start over with banking. Like no one will give you a credit card. Like it's like an extra, like it's different from like moving from like Michigan to LA.
Yeah. Yeah. It's everything has to change. You have to literally start everything over.
Yeah, but I had so many friends in Canada too who were like dual citizens, and then they were in the arts, and they just never wanted to move, and that always blew me away. I'm like,
Interesting.
why you want to stay?
What's the logic there?
You know, you get stuck in your hometown mentality.
I don't understand that. That's something I can't relate to.
I couldn't wait to leave. I was like, I'm out.
Same.
Yeah.
Although I loved, so don't get me wrong, like I love my country.
Oh yeah, I love
I
Canada too. It's just like if
yeah,
you're trying to do this one, if you have goals in this one sphere of entertainment, you just
yeah.
there's nowhere to go.
You need to go.
Yeah.
You need
Canada's
to go to
probably a bit
America.
better for stand up than Lebanon, I'm sure. But
Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah, it is. Lebanon's stand up scene is so fresh. It's like 2 years old now.
when
They've
you
been
go,
doing it
do
for
you do
2
shows
years.
there?
Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
for sure.
Do they have
Yeah.
a comedy club with like chicken fingers and stuff?
They don't have a comedy club. They do have a space. So there's three guys who are amazing who started a thing called Awkward, Awk and then word WORD. It's three guys. They're three producers. They produce open mics and then they produce shows where they take the best of the open micers eventually and they put them up on the show. They started 2 years ago and and they rent out this place that's usually a place, it's like a warehouse. We used to go to parties there. We still do. Like the top floor is like a party room. When they get like a DJ or whatever, they have like big parties there, like fundraisers or whatever. And so the first floor, they close it up. They put a stage, they put tables, a back bar, and a back kitchen. They do like sandwiches and like drinks and stuff like that. And then you go there, you pay like, I think it's 20,000 Lebanese pounds, which is like, the ticket is like $15. It's once a week, unless they have like someone doing their hour, but usually it's like once a week on the regular. They used to do it every Tuesday before Corona, and it was like 200, 300 seats, and it would pack out every week, sold out every single week. And then they would do just like a regular show. They just do a break every two stand-ups. They do like a break and intermission between every two stand-ups so that people can go upstairs and smoke, because Lebanese people just smoke a lot and they don't want people smoking inside.
Nice.
So every 2 hours they got to stop the show so that people can go have their cigarettes and then come back down and then they start over.
Yeah, that's good. You can reset the room and keep the show going.
I hate it. They do it to me too. Like when I do, so when I went, I did my hour there.
Yeah.
And what they do is that they do the host, then the opener, and then they do the timeout. And then when they start again, they bring me up.
Oh no!
So
I
you come
lose.
up.
You got to restart.
I got to restart. Yeah. But they're like, we got to do it, people, or else people will be walking in and out while you're up on stage. And like, because people in Lebanon need to be smoking all the time. It's like, it's a population of, I think we're like 80% of people in Lebanon smoke.
Yeah. You need a Lebanon open micer to do 5 before your hour.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the host will do a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit more. But the thing is, like, I guess when you're headlining, people are there for you anyway.
Yeah.
So even if there is like a little pause when you go up, they're ready to go.
Yeah. They're still excited.
They're still excited. Yeah. They're still excited. So
did you
it's
smoke?
still fun. No.
Never?
Oh, no, I used to. Yeah, I used to smoke. I was never like a heavy smoker. But I used to smoke like at the end of high school and in college. High school, college, I used to smoke. My parents never found out though, unless they listened to that. But I used to. Everybody, that's the thing. Everybody smokes in the Middle East. Everybody smokes. Everybody smokes.
Even still today.
And so and then if you smoke and you go home and you smell like cigarettes, your parents are not going to be like, why do you smell like cigarettes? Because you're going to smell like cigarettes anyway, because people smoke everywhere inside. They tried to make it illegal outside. It never worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like they try to make a law saying you can't smoke inside, but
I guess you might as well smoke too if you're there and you're around this. Like, what's the
exactly.
difference at this point?
Yeah, I'm already passively smoking
You're already
these.
getting the bad effects. Might as well get the
Yeah.
flavor country.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I used to smoke, but then I stopped when I came here.
Yeah.
Like a year into being here, I stopped.
What were some of the challenges for you, like that you think were unique, based on your background and your story of like starting comedy and breaking into like the business into New York?
I don't know if I would call it like a special thing. I would say like what was like what was challenging to me was stand up is a culture of its own, and then America is a culture of its own, and so I didn't know either cultures.
Two cultures, yeah.
So yeah, I had to learn both at once, right? So as I got here, I started comedy right away, and so it was like it was just like a lot of learning, and I was very quiet. I would keep to myself a lot. I didn't, mingle with people a lot because I was just so uncomfortable because I just felt very confused. So it was just a lot of sitting back and watching and paying attention and just like trying not to be seen while I'm working. Just to give myself the time to understand what I was doing and where I was. And like, it's kind of like walking into a very dark room and like starting to touch things around the room.
Yeah.
And being like, okay, so the table is here. Now I know next time I come in here, I'm not going to bump this table because I know it's here. The bed is right there. This is where I can lay down. Okay, there's a shelving unit here. I have to make sure not to hit my head on that next time I walk in. So it was just like a lot of locating myself in a very dark room.
Yeah.
And then just like, and I'm just now starting to get light in the room where I'm like, okay, now I can see everything. I know it really well. If it's dark or if there's light, I'll be good to go. But it was just like a lot of understanding. Like I used to say a lot of problematic stuff on stage when I first started because I just didn't understand where the lines were, what was acceptable, what wasn't. I was just like, bah.
Yeah. I think people who speak more than one language, they do a lot more like waiting and like watching.
Yeah.
Because we've been in uncomfortable situations and like sometimes you don't know all the words. I'm always shocked at Americans sometimes. Like I have a lot of friends who are actors and like the volume and no filter that they talk about in public. I'm like, I don't understand how you can be this open talking about this crazy stuff in this restaurant or around other people who could be listening. It's so weird. Yeah. That's one of the culture things I've never gotten.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's the worst part about this is that I can't start rambling and because I still, a lot of times when I'm speaking English, I'm still translating as I'm talking. A lot of times I use wrong words for like, I'm trying to say something, but I say something else.
Yeah.
Or sometimes there's like a word in French or in Arabic that has, a direct translation in English, but the meaning of it in English comes out differently.
Totally.
So I'll be saying something that to me doesn't sound problematic, but then when I say it out loud, people are like, you can't just say that. And I'm like, you can't put it like that. Why'd you use that word? Or I'm like,
yeah.
So a lot of times so that's why like banter is very hard for me sometimes. Like when I'm in a table with like 4 other people who are Americans and who start like riffing and like talking super quickly and joking and referencing things, I'm just like, I space out. I space out. I'm like, I stop listening. I get on my phone because I'm like, I have to really focus with you guys to understand what you're saying and what you're referring to. And then if I want to jump in, I can't jump in quickly enough and say things quickly enough and be sure that what I'm saying is the correct thing.
Yeah.
Not just like proper, just correct. Because I'm like, sometimes I'm trying to say something, but the wrong words come out of my mouth when in my head, it's just, I'm trying to say something else. So there's always that fear.
I like it. I like it when people are competing to be like putting stuff in, and I like just kicking back. I'm like, you stress out about it. I'll just watch, and if I have something, I'm good.
I watch, but then sometimes, especially when I'm with the guys, when I'm like with Dave and the guys, they start saying shit to provoke me, and then I have to answer, but then I don't know how to, like when I have to think fast in English and talk quickly, I panic and I don't know what to say, so I just insult everybody.
Do you think in French first?
I think in French and Arabic. Yeah, okay. It's like a mix.
Yeah.
I think in both languages. Sometimes I think in English. I just think it's a mixture of all 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's all 3 words. So like just talking quickly. And this is what I struggled with the most on stage at the beginning, because I used to be able not to go on stage unless I memorized my act. I used to memorize my act like word for word. And if someone like disrupted me, I would panic because I was like, how do I answer this correctly? Because I have a good accent, so people don't know that my vocabulary is really bad.
Even now?
Yeah, my vocabulary is not great. And a lot of times people
So
will
you're
say something
American
to
now.
me.
This is perfect.
Yeah. So you're a true American.
Yeah. The banter vocab and like the hanging out vocab is pretty narrow. At least that's like, you're not getting into like deep sciences or like a lot of words,
Yeah, but for you, it's normal. It's like basic vocab for you is basic, but for me, it's complicated.
That makes sense.
I know very high level English, which people don't realize, but I literally just know very, very high level English.
Yeah, like I know French like very well, but not well enough to like do a joke or like if I go to France or something and all the new words for stuff and like I'm like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, I couldn't do it in France either. I can only do it in Lebanon because our French is different. And in Lebanon, we mix all three languages. We mix Arabic, French, and English. So there's some words that I know in English that I don't know in Arabic. There's some words that I know in Arabic that I don't know in French. There's some words that I know in French that I don't know in English.
Yeah.
But all the words that I know and I don't know, my Lebanese friends are the same. So we can mix and match very similarly. So these are Lebanese people are the only people I can truly banter with, like with no limits.
Right. Yeah. My dad's the same way. It's a mix of the three, like English, French, Arabic. And it's easy to always like...
Is your dad fluent in Arabic?
Yeah.
Nice. Moroccan Arabic is really fun too.
Yeah. I feel like I should learn. Yeah. I should learn one day, but
yeah, I mean, I feel like if me and your dad were to have a conversation in Arabic, we would struggle because our dialect is just
it's very
Lebanese.
Yeah, it's very different.
Very different.
Yeah. And then, so what's it like doing a podcast now? What made you feel like, all right, this is the time to do that?
I don't know. I just definitely quarantine pushed that. I mean, I was thinking about that for a while, but I always feel every time I hear myself talk, I just hate it. That's why I kept pushing it back. I was like, I don't know if that's what I want to do and everything. But then I felt like since I didn't have the stage, I just needed somewhere to just like, channel my thoughts through or whatever. And there's so many people that I just think are so interesting that I have a lot of friends that I just think are so interesting and so smart and so cultured and funny, and that I just like to show off. So I was like, I just want to show off my friends that I think are interesting, that give, I want to show off my world, right? I want to,
world building.
I want to introduce my Lebanese friends that are, artists, my American friends, my friends in London, because I have friends all around the world at this point because Lebanese people just travel everywhere.
They're everywhere.
So I'm like, and I have such special relationships with each of them, and they all teach me so many different things. So I was like, whatever they teach me, I wanted to teach it to everyone else.
Yeah, it's a great avenue to even just learn the tools. And like, I don't know if you knew that already from MediaCom or whatever, but like, I just found like doing it, like learning video editing and starting, and just like you, I delayed for so long. I'm like, I don't want to do it. Everyone has one. And then I obsessed over the music.
But again, not everyone has one. Everyone on your timeline has one.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like there's always room. The pie can grow forever, and there's somewhere out there your fans like want to hear what you have to say, and it'll be unique because it's you. And I wasted like 6 months just being like, I had episodes recorded and done, kind of like your clips that I didn't put up. And I was like, I don't know. And then one day my friend's like, what are you doing? Just put it up. I was like, all right, yeah, you're right.
And are you enjoying it now?
Oh, I'm so glad. Like I regret I could have had like another 26 more episodes if I just would have started, And then you don't want to break the chain. It's like every week I'm like, okay, I got to do an episode. I got to edit it. Yeah. I got a good flow now, and I can do some pretty good editing, which is great. It's a good skill to have.
Yeah, right. It's a good, you start learning as you do it, and you're like, well, I'm really enjoying learning these skills. Like those are things I never would have learned.
It's frustrating when you're trying to like, I know what I want the software to do, and you just
and then you
can't.
Don't know how to tell it.
Yeah. Like, it like doesn't speak English or whatever. Like
Yeah.
And so a lot of time is Googling or bugging my friend is like a really good Premiere guy. But I'm so glad I did it. And I think you made the right choice as well.
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of times I'm like, I just want to delete the whole thing.
What's the podcast called?
Really? Question mark.
Like Seinfeld? Like really?
No, really? That's the tone, because that's always my reaction to everything.
Yeah.
What? Really? I'm always surprised at everything, I'm just always like, I feel like I'm always learning I just feel so stupid all the time. I just feel like I know so little about the world, and then every time somebody talks, I'm just like, huh,
Do you feel
yeah,
that way in America or in general?
yeah. I feel that way in America. I don't know if I feel that way in America or I feel that way as an adult as I'm becoming an adult and I'm learning stuff, but I've become an adult in America, so I guess I mixed them both together. And to me, it's like, yeah, being in America and just learning a lot of stuff and just always being like, huh,
What is being an
cool.
adult now? Because like I have two kids and they watch like Marvel Legos, right? Like Marvel Comics
Yeah,
Legos. And me as an
yeah,
adult, I go see Marvel films. So like what is
yeah.
the like every it's like I dress the same as my kid. Like I don't even know what being an adult is now.
Yeah, I don't know either. The more I have friends who are like, I would say that if you're a parent, you're an adult. But now that I have friends who are parents, I'm like, I don't think so. Maybe
Right. No,
not
not
actually.
necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah. You just notice it's funny when you start having friends who have kids, you realize that you're like, oh, wait, my parents are dumb too.
Yeah. Or
They're not.
you think they know
Yeah.
everything and then you're like, oh no, they
Yeah.
don't know everything. And then
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hard thing to see, but
Yeah.
it's also kind of nice. You're like, all right, I don't know everything. I don't need to know everything. No one can know everything. It's life is too short
How old
for
are
that.
your kids?
5 and 8.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's a
they're
good
fun
age.
ages.
Yeah, they're just like
Yeah.
they're a good little team. My daughter's 8, my son's 5, and they're a good little duo now. They've been
Yeah.
out of diapers for a while, which is great. And they're like
Yeah. They don't
they're
scream
like little
anymore.
friends
They
now.
know how to speak.
Yeah, they can speak. They pick
Yeah.
at each other like a lot of siblings, but
Obviously.
overall they're pretty
Yeah.
good. And they go to a French school here, so they're learning French.
Oh, that's the one I went to when I was in New York.
Oh, really?
I'm still very close to my friends from there. Like it's crazy because I was only here in middle school. Then
Yeah.
I went back to Lebanon and I, did high school in Lebanon and then I did college in Lebanon. And I left them. I was 13 and I barely knew them and they've been in their each other's lives for 20 years, over 20 years. And but I'm still very close to them. Like we never lost touch. Like I have like a group of like 8 or 9 of them, and we still hang out. We still talk all the time. Like they'll come to my shows sometimes in New York. We're still very good
You
friends.
weren't here for a couple months. Like you were here for a few years in New York.
Yeah, no, I stayed 1 year.
Once I knew there was a lycée in New York, I was like, all right, well, if I go to New York, that's where I would
Then you can just get the
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Yeah, it was cool. It wasn't bad. I just hated New York at the time.
it's different when you're young. Your whole world's changed. That's the only, you can't focus on like
Yeah.
the cool aspects of New York when you're in
No,
grade 6.
no, no, exactly. I was in seventh grade and I felt like I was ripped out of my country. I was ripped out of Lebanon, like in the
Yeah.
middle of the war. All my friends were still there and we didn't have internet like we do today. Like I could email them, but then they would get back to me like a week or two later, So I felt very disoriented and very sad. And I was so depressed. And my dad went back to Lebanon. So I was here with my mom and my brother, and my mom was very strict.
Hmm.
And so it was really, really tough on me. I just like, I was very, like, I was, all I could talk about was how I wanted to go back to Lebanon and how America sucked.
Hmm.
And I had come, it was 2006. So that was like 5 years post 9/11. But, when you're an Arab in the Middle East, you don't experience anti-Arab racism because everybody around you is Arab. So I wasn't familiar with the anti-Arab sentiment. Um, and so I came in 2006 and I experienced it a little bit. And it upset me so much because I didn't understand why anybody would be like, you're bad because you're from Lebanon. That like the little times that happened to me, I was just very hurt. I've had people be like, ew, or, people step like, I've had bad experiences when other kids, I told them I was Lebanese or Arab, where they were just like, they would look at me or say something to me about it. And so I was embarrassed for people. That's why I worked on my accent so hard because I was like, I can't have them know that I'm an Arab because then they'll make me feel bad for it. And so I was scared that people would know. And so it was just like an overall, just like, I was just like not happy. I didn't feel comfortable. And so I went back. But then as soon as I went back to Lebanon and I became a teenager, I was like, actually, I do want to go back to New York now.
That's the good time to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember or in the lycée, I don't know if this is like this in New York, but I'd love to know. Here, they're always like every event, they're like parent teacher meeting, like here's a baguette and croissant. So like a little Eiffel Tower everywhere. I'm like, can you stop? Like it's so annoying.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember if they were like that. The French are like that though.
they not, but I feel like the American French put it on, like they're doing it for the parents to sell this like dream of berets and baguettes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Paris is
Yeah.
not like that. And like when you went to the American University of Beirut, was there like a little cheeseburger there?
No, it was so Arab. It was so Arab. I didn't even have one American professor. All my professors were Arabs.
One of my favorite authors is Lebanese, Nassim
Who?
Taleb.
Yeah, I think I know him.
Yeah, he's wrote some amazing books like Fooled by Randomness, The Black Swan.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, super smart guy.
Wow. I know the name. I've never read his stuff.
Yeah, Fooled by Randomness is a must read. I don't know how mathy you like to get, but it's pretty great.
What do you mean mathy?
Like it's about risk and probability, basically.
Interesting.
Are there other Lebanese comics other than you and Dave
Oh yeah, a lot.
in America?
So in America, there's Nimr. Do you know Nimr Abu Nassar?
Oh yeah, I know the name. I don't know him.
Yeah, I think he's LA based now.
Yeah.
I think he, like everybody knows him in Lebanon. He's very famous in Lebanon. And then I'm trying to think if there's other Lebanese comedians that I know in America. I don't think so. I think it's just me and Dave. Like all the other Arabs are Egyptians, Palestinians, Iraqis, maybe a couple Syrians, but I don't know any other Lebanese.
So what are some of your goals? We'll wrap up with the goals section of like, what are some of the things you're trying to accomplish this year in showbiz and comedy? And I know it's a weird year to ask even the question.
It is, right? It's a very weird time because if you had asked me that 3 months ago, I feel like I could have, told you what I wanted to do. But now it's just like, at this point, I'm like, it's really hard for me. I think that's why I'm struggling to work as like finding, creative juice and like getting myself to write and work on stuff is harder because I just have no idea where I'm going anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, it's harder for me to be creative when I don't know. My goal is just to get back to now short term. I just want to get back to the rhythm I was at before that all happened. I want to get back to, feeling like, I'm on stage every night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm booked a bunch. I'm like, my career is growing. My act is growing. Eventually I want to, I don't want to sound, corny, but I do want, to produce my own TV show.
Like where you're the lead?
We'll see. That's not the main goal. The main goal is to just like write my thing and have it out there. I've been working on one for the past, a little bit over a year. I've been working on on the show that I want to write, and I got a lot of progress done during quarantine.
Nice, yeah.
Which was good. I mean, I was already doing progress before quarantine, so I just need to make this a point that it's not because of quarantine that I made the progress. I was already like 5 months before quarantine. Like I would say since October, maybe I was already like I was like working on it every single day. Every single day I was writing, working, fixing and changing and everything. But during quarantine, the work was just faster because I had more time.
Mm-hmm. What stage are you at? Like you've done the outline?
Yeah, I kind of finished the pilot.
Okay.
I've outlined the show. I kind of finished the pilot, but I was going through the pilot with a filmmaker in Lebanon that I look up to a lot, that I think is just really good. And he gave me some pretty big notes. And so now I have to make that I agreed with, unfortunately. I wish I didn't, but now I have to make pretty big changes to the pilot now. And so I'm kind of like a few steps back again.
I just wrote a spec script and I sent it out this morning to 2 people to read.
Yeah.
So now I'm just in this place where I'm waiting for them to like.
Yeah, I hate that. I wish. What I love doing, like when I show someone, if they read my stuff, I like to be sitting next to them and watch them read it.
Yeah, because you want to hear them laugh. You want them to like.
You're like, I want to see if you love the right places that I thought you would love.
Yeah.
And because also when people share their stuff with me, I'm so if someone shares, like I've had friends who shared their work with me, their writing with me, and I pay so much attention to it. And when I give them feedback, I literally give them feedback over every comma on the thing. And so I expect people to do the same with me, but not everybody works like that.
Yeah.
So when somebody's like, yeah, I liked it, I think you should keep working on it. I'm like, fuck, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, you need actual spaces. I liked this part. I didn't like this part. Like at least that's what I asked for.
Yes, because I know it's overall okay, or else I wouldn't have sent it to you. But what's going to make it great is the little details. So if you don't give me exact pointers, I'm not going to know what to fucking do with this, and you didn't help me at all.
Yeah. Is it a comedy?
Yeah. I mean, it's. I would say it's a dark comedy. It's more of a drama. There is comedy in it, definitely. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't. It's not like absurd comedy. It's very realistic. Like some funny things, but they're all very real.
Is it in English or Arabic?
It's in English. There are some Arabic parts in there, but it's mostly in English. Yeah.
That's a great goal to have, Write it in quarantine, get it off the ground. People are going to be starving to get productions going. And
yeah, but I feel like it's weird because you're like, when you're writing something now, I'm like, are we supposed to acknowledge coronavirus in our script
I don't know.
Pretend it wasn't there? Is it a different time? Like, how are we? Because I don't want to talk about coronavirus.
I think it's up to you. If you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it.
Yeah,
if there's a moment that feels authentic and real, that you mention it. I can't wait for like the small moments, like where they talk about it like offhand. I think that's going to be fun, just to kind of casually mention it.
Yeah, but it depends at what point in time the show comes out. If the show comes out at a time where we've moved past it, the vaccine was out, and like life is completely back, then you can just do that. But then if we stay in the same state that we're on right now for another couple of years, you're just like, how do I just not mention the elephant in the room?
It's kind of like comedy. It's like, do you talk about it the first thing on stage? Do you not? It's the same thing. There was a great moment with House of Cards. Like they were one of the first ones to get texting, like where they popped up the little bubble. Because you're like, how do you address texting? Everyone's texting in every show, and people just ignored it for so long. And then at some point, they're like, oh yeah, you gotta integrate it. Otherwise, it's weird.
Right. But we didn't feel like it was weird.
It got to I felt like at a certain point it was weird.
Yeah. What I think is weird that they still do in fucking movies is when people are talking on the iPhone and they hang up, it's just a little beep, like the old Nokias.
Oh yeah.
It's like you're clearly holding an iPhone.
Yeah.
Why are you being weird about this? This is not how it works.
Yeah. I feel like some sound effects people just like, they can't help themselves.
Yeah. Maybe they're just fucking with the audience.
Yeah. Or sometimes you need a moment, like, because how do you know, you've hung up the phone, but maybe maybe the scene felt weird and they're like, I need a moment to end it, to close it.
Right.
Or a sound effects guy put it in and they didn't catch it, or.
Right.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, is like, we're so close, the technology. Anytime the technology in a film or TV thing is off, it takes us out of the movie. Or it does, like your little Nokia sound effect. You're like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, it takes me out. Yeah, I'm like, no, I can't. And sometimes like they're on the phone, but you can see the screen of the phone, and you can see that they're not actually on the phone. It's just like,
or when the whole show is sponsored by Android and everyone has an Android, you're like, this is not. This is just as bad. You can't. Throw an iPhone in there, lose a couple bucks, get over it. So, where do people find you? Tell us your socials. Tell us your podcast.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I have the same handles on both. It's Nat Your Color. So Nat Your Color. Color is COLOR.
Yeah. Nat Your Color.
It's kind of like Not Your Color, but with an A instead. And then my podcast is on, Spotify and iTunes and SoundCloud and everywhere. It's called Really? A podcast by Nataly Aukar.
Follow Nataly Aukar. Listen to her pod, Nataly Aukar. Thank you so much for doing this. This is great. I feel like we could talk for a long time, and let's stay in touch more often. And work on getting that apartment in LA. I'll see you here soon. We can share hair products if nothing else. Your budget will be cut in half.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.